shot.
I'm not scared to stand and bang with anybody.
There it is. Gets the takedown. Very nicely done by Miesha. Oh, Miesha's got it over the net. Miesha's got it back. Miesha looking to choke her out. Wow, she's got it back. Still has it. Miesha Tate down it. It is all over. Miesha Tate is the new UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion.
Back on March 5th, Miesha Tate defeating Holly Holm by 5th round submission to become the 3rd UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. Tate, who late last year admitted she was actually considering retirement, submitted Holm with a rear naked choke at the 3-minute 30-second mark of the final round of their 135-pound title fight. As it's time now to go face-to-face with current UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Miesha Tate and her very large belt. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
As you look back and have had time to process that, which was an upset victory, what do you think was the key?
I think it's just mindset. I just knew that it was my time. I knew I was going to go out there and win it, and I looked at myself in the mirror right before I walked out, and I said, this is the last time you will look at yourself as a non-UFC champion. And went out there and got it done. A little late in the fight, but it was a great fight.
But you've done that before. You battled through fights. That's a bit of your trademark in a way.
I think it is. Overcoming adversity and overcoming losses and just realizing even when you're down, you don't have to be out. Just get back up.
And you had contemplated retirement after Holm was given the title shot against Ronda Rousey. What changed your mind?
Well, it's not that I wanted to retire because I thought I didn't have it anymore. It's because I'm not in this for a participation ribbon. I want to be the champion, and I thought that maybe that wasn't going to be an option for me to fight for the title. So, with that being said, things definitely took a change in the course when Holly, knocked out Ronda, and that put me right in place for title contention, and here I am.
It was your second title fight. You had lost your first to Rousey in UFC 168. What indications have you had, if any, about when she'll be fighting again?
Well, I've been hearing November. I know that she's eating apples again, so that's definitely a step in the right direction.
All the teeth are working, everything's okay.
So that's good. But I've heard in November is her anticipated date to return.
Are you willing to wait until November before you defend your title, or would you like to fight before then?
I kind of instinctually feel like I'd like to fight before then. I'd like to stay active as a champion, but I got to sit down with my management and really talk about that in the UFC. And the dust hasn't even settled yet, believe it or not. We're weeks after the fight, and it's just still such a whirlwind. And we got to sit down when I get home and talk about all that.
How comfortable are you sitting out for 8 months or so? If you look at November, that's a ways away.
I've done it many times before, though. It's just kind of when you get to that upper echelon, sometimes you've got to wait for the right fight to come around at the right time. And my last fight before this one was at the end of July. So that was a long way off.
So it's something that is feasible.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I talked to Ronda about UFC 168 and what happened afterwards. I just want to play you a little clip and get your reaction. Then UFC 168 afterwards, when you don't shake Miesha's hand, what went into that whole decision?
A lot of people were extremely against that. I got booed a lot, but you know what? What's the most iconic image in all of sports? It's Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. You just knocked him out, and he's standing over him and telling him to get up and fight, sucker. Now, wouldn't that be considered a grievously unsportsmanlike act?
I don't know, what do you think when you hear that?
I don't know. I think she should just be herself. And, I've heard that she backpedaled, that she said that she didn't see me reach out the hand, which you can clearly see that I did. And I think once it's over, So part of being in a sport is sportsmanship at the end of the day, and my extending my hand is definitely no indication that, I like her on a personal level, but it's that I respect her as an athlete, and I always will.
You've said you really don't care if you guys are ever friends.
Correct. That's always going to be a true statement. I don't feel like I'm missing anything in my life by not being friends with her, but at the end of the day, I think she's a phenomenal fighter and a phenomenal athlete, and I will always respect her for that.
You've lost to her twice. What makes you think you would beat her the third time?
Because I think that anyone can beat anyone on any given day, and that just goes to show Holly Holm. She came in there and was a huge underdog. Nobody thought she had a chance in anything in beating her, and she knocked out Ronda in one of the most brutal fashions we've ever seen in the history of this sport. So I believe that I can come in there and I can beat Ronda, and I don't think that she's this invincible woman that a lot of people have made her out to be. I've been saying that since day one, and now we've all seen it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward. In a way, I kind of felt bad for her because I think that that's really an extreme to go from the top of the top and then to feeling like that. And it just made me wonder about her mentality, and what kind of a fighter are we going to get coming back? If she even does return, where is she at mentally to have it mean that much? So yeah, it just makes me wonder because I know every time that I've lost or, when I lost my world title, I thought I just need to get back in the gym and I need to get better. So it was just a different mindset, and I don't fully understand it, so it's a little bit hard for me to comment on.
You made just under $100,000 for your fight against Holm, and Conor McGregor earned $1 million in the fight that he lost. What are your thoughts about the gender pay gap in your sport?
In that case, I don't think it's a gender pay gap so much. I think that Conor McGregor just stands out as an individual himself. And also you have to realize he is the 145-pound champion. So he's getting championship pay. And as a champion, that is, I believe Holm made the same. I think she made $500, if I'm correct in saying. So it has to do with the fact that he's a champion. And I believe Holm made the same.
So Cris Cyborg Justino is going to make her long-awaited UFC debut. That's going to happen on May 14th.
Yeah.
How do you view her in terms of a formidable opponent?
Oh, man, she's a beast. She's incredible, and she goes out there and she eats girls for breakfast, So she's, but everyone has holes in their game. It definitely doesn't mean that she's unbeatable. I have a lot of respect for her, but she is dropping to 140, and I know she struggled tremendously to make 145. So it'll be very interesting. Sometimes as fighters drop weight, they begin to lose other athletic abilities, like being able to go the full 5 rounds. It's really wearing. So I'm very curious, and Leslie Smith will be her opponent, who's also a friend of mine, and just as tough as they come. So I think that's going to be a spectacular fight.
Do you think the Rousey loss was good for the sport?
Absolutely. I think it was necessary, actually. I think the biggest criticism that women's mixed martial arts was facing at that time was that there's no depth. And I believe that Holly coming out there and really coming, as a relatively unknown fighter to the mass public, and coming out there and just demolishing Rousey was important. I think it was the best thing that could have happened. And then me coming out there and beating Holly, who beat Ronda, and now we have this whole different change of the title, and it adds so much more of an interesting element to the women's division.
And you've been adopted by the NASCAR world because you work with Kevin Harvick and his team. There were some high-profile names at your fight, Dale Jr. and Austin Dillon, and several other drivers. What has that connection meant to you? What have you learned from the champions in that sport?
Well, it's so interesting, and Kevin Harvick and I had a conversation. There was a day after my fight, actually. He raced there in Vegas, and we sat down, and he said, I just got to tell you what it's like to be a champion and what you're in for. And he's like, just keep your head on straight, keep doing what you need to do. Just realize, there's going to be a lot of new friends, and he just kind of gave me, yes, he just gave me kind of the rundown, and I really appreciate that because obviously he's amazing at what he does and a former champion, so he knows what I'm in for. And it's just nice having that insight. I feel like the NASCAR world has really embraced me, and we've embraced each other's sports, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, you just celebrated your 10th anniversary here, and knowing you started, there wasn't much of a future in MMA, but you certainly have one now and have forged a great career. So congratulations on all that. Best of luck down the road.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Miesha Tate, face to face. And coming up, WrestleMania 32 is just 5 days away. It's Girl Power Day here on Sportscenter. Stephanie McMahon in the house. How did this event land at Jerry World? She'll tell us.